How's it going, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got another review. Today is actually a motorcycle review. As you can see, I haven't been doing a lot of these. If you're new to my channel, I mainly focus on cars, trucks, things with four wheels, but today we have a very special bike. But before we get into today's review, definitely be sure to leave a like down below, subscribe if you haven't already. We're just about a few hundred subscribers away from 3,000 now, so definitely pumped to hopefully reach that milestone sooner rather than later. So if you can help me out, that would be awesome. And also, if you are subscribed but don't get notified whenever I post a video, make sure to click that little bell icon down there that actually just enables notifications, so you actually know when I do post new content. But today we actually have the very first leader bike, and honestly the very first sports bike that I have ridden on the channel, and just actually overall in general, which is kind of crazy. And it is a 2008 Kawasaki ZX-10R Ninja. Now, everything that you're going to be hearing in this review and some of the other videos, I guess, that I'm going to be putting out with this bike in the future is coming from a beginner rider's perspective. I am a beginner rider. I've ridden Subaru DRZ, Cruiser. My dad's actually got a Suzuki C90 Boulevard that I've ridden a couple times. I've ridden like mini bikes, but I've actually never before today ridden a dedicated sports bike. So I literally skipped right over like your 450 cc's, your 600 cc's, right to a leader bike, which some would say is very dangerous, but honestly it hasn't been that bad. This bike is honestly pretty controllable as long as you take it easy. Now, that's not saying that it's not fast. It's definitely a pretty freaking fast bike. But if you don't know what a leader bike means, it basically means that it's a leader displacement engine. So for example, this engine is technically 998 cc's, but 1000 cc's would be an even leader. That is just what people refer to these bikes as. That's their nickname that's been given to them over the years. So whenever you hear anyone talking about a leader bike, that's what they mean. That's just for anyone who is either new to motorcycles or has never heard the term leader bike before. So first off, I'd like to highlight the very aggressive stance of this bike. Now, it is a Kawasaki Ninja. There's plenty of Kawasaki Ninjas out there, and they all kind of look the same. But this one, it's just so awesome. I love the look of sports bikes. I personally love sports bikes more than cruisers. Yes, they're a little bit more uncomfortable, but they just look so badass. And honestly, they're just a blast to drive. I do like the naked or like the Street Fighter bikes. They're definitely a lot more agile than some of these sport bikes, but still, these are just a pleasure to look at. But going back to the engine now, like I said before, it's a 998 cc 4-stroke double overhead cam, 4 valve per cylinder, 4-cylinder engine that actually powers this thing. So it's not a twin, it's not a single cylinder like some of your, I guess, cruisers or Street Fighter bikes. It's 4-cylinder engine. And this liquid cooled engine makes 188 brake horsepower at 12,500 RPMs, which is pretty ridiculous for something of this size to actually be on. And as far as the torque's concerned, it makes 113 newton meters of torque, which is approximately around 83 foot-pounds of torque. Now, its dry weight is just under 400 pounds, right at 395 pounds, and its wet weight is 458 pounds. So yeah, when you couple all the power that it's making with the weight of this thing, its top speed is 181 miles per hour, and it has a standing quarter-mile time right from the factory at 10.5 seconds flat. Now, honestly, there's nothing exceptionally special about this leader bike that really separates it from its kind of competition, but it's got everything that you'd expect from a modern sport bike. It's fuel injected, it has electric starter, it does have a 17-liter fuel tank, which definitely gives it a decent amount of range. And also for the tire setup, in the front there's 120/70 R17s, and in the rear we actually have 190/55 R17s. So the wheels are the same, diameter. They're not staggered or anything, but there's definitely a decent amount more of rubber in the back there. And also, actually getting down towards that area with the wheels and tires here, looking at the brakes in the front, you can actually see that this bike has a double caliper and rotor setup with double 310mm discs and 4 piston calipers to complement those discs to actually stop them in the front. And then in the rear here, it's just a single 220mm disc on the right side of the bike right here. And that is just paired with a single piston caliper. What's pretty crazy to me, being a kind of beginner motorcycle rider, is that this isn't even like the fastest Ninja. There's also like the ZX-10R, which makes like 200+ horsepower. So it's not even the fastest, like in comparison to Kawasaki Ninjas, which is pretty mind-blowing. I mean, some of those bikes out there are just absolutely fascinating machines. But a few things that kind of separate this single ZX-10R from a couple of the other ones. Obviously, you could see right here all like the white fairings. Now, this is an older bike. It's 2008. It's a little beat up. It's been through a few owners. And right now, my friend actually owns it. And he did all like the Sharpie stuff right there. I feel like that's definitely going to draw some opinions from the comments section. Some people might like it. Some people might hate it. I think it doesn't look too bad. He also put like his Instagram right there and just like a couple other stupid things. But as far as like the actual mods are concerned with the specific ZX-10R, it's actually lowered 2 inches in the front and 1 inch in the rear. So that definitely really helps keep the bike planted when you're wrapping through those gears, especially in some of those lower like gears like first, second, third, when you know the front end kind of lifts up. You still feel the front end lift up a little bit when you really get into the throttle, but it really helps the bike stay planted to the ground. Now, this specific bike also does have a power commander, and it has a full exhaust setup. As we can see from the can here in the back, it is a M4 exhaust. But unfortunately, my friend actually doesn't know what headers are on it, what aftermarket headers are on it. They are different from factory though. We can kind of see them a little bit through that gap right there. But unfortunately, he didn't have like the name brand for me to tell you guys today. Now, without further ado, guys, I'm going to hop on this bike, bring you guys on a ride with me. But I have to say though, it's not going to be one of the best, like, kind of, I guess, quote-unquote moto vlog setups, because I only have a single GoPro. So I'm going to kind of hook it to my helmet, hook it to the bike, do a couple passes, ride around a little bit, and probably just do a voiceover back at my house. But that's pretty much all I have to say for this ZX-10R today. All right, guys, so I don't know how well this audio is going to be, and also my GoPro keeps overheating because I don't know if you guys could tell, but it's a hot ass day out. So yeah, I think the majority of this ride, you're gonna see the POV of the GoPro looking at me. Yeah, this setup is kind of messed up on my helmet. Again, I apologize. I'm not like a motorcycle channel. I don't normally moto vlog, but the setup is gonna have to, I guess, work for now. I'm definitely going to look into getting one of those chin mounts. And also, I don't know how good this audio is going to be because I don't have an external mic for my GoPro. So I'm probably just going to do a voiceover when I'm driving. But we'll make it work. But this is probably going to be the last that you hear from me from, I guess, this angle. But yeah, I guess I should probably stop talking, start riding, fire this thing up. It's hot out today. Alright guys, so hopefully you heard me well in that little section, but again, unfortunately my GoPro does not have an external mic, and the mount on my helmet that you're seeing right now is a little bit janky. It's a little bit messed up. So getting into the reservation here in the woods, you can see I'm doing a little pull. Unfortunately, had to cut that because again the camera kept like falling to the side. If you do know any good mounts, I'm probably going to get a chin mount, to be honest with you. I have a Sedici Strata 2 helmet. They make chin mounts for those helmets, I'm pretty sure, and I've heard nothing but great things about them. But I have my GoPro kind of like hooked up to the side directly on my helmet, and then a little like extension to kind of get the front angle. But you can see it's kind of falling down here. but I was really pushing this thing. I mean, you could see I was going between like 50s to 60 mile per hour in some of those corners in the reservation. Again, unfortunately, the camera fell back down, so this is me now on the county road going into the reservation, doing some of those twisties, moving back and forth, leaning back and forth, and the bike just felt really great to ride. And for anyone out there that's, you know, wondering how it was riding it as a beginner rider, gotta be honest with you, at first I was definitely pretty scared. I've driven a couple of fast cars, but being on a fast bike like this and a fast car are two like completely different animals. And for me, I was just really trying not to whiskey throttle it the entire time. I was just focusing on that, and that with the combined effect that a sport bike has on your wrists definitely hurt my wrists a decent amount, or just annoyed them throughout the video. Actually, right here you can see the GoPro did overheat, unfortunately, so this is going to be the end from this angle. But we did get really good footage looking at me. This is me actually starting the ride before I did the little walk around, putting my visor down. You can see, like a dumbass, I have my chin strap off, but I actually do fix it. And right here you can see me like stretching out my back. Oftentimes I was just stretching out my back, kind of like letting go of the bars. And then right here is the pull in the beginning of the video. And honestly, this wasn't even that crazy. You can kind of see me hit it in second, but I really just roll into it in first, and then once I get it into third, I just let off. I probably got maybe close to 100 right there, which honestly isn't even that fast for this bike. I was barely in it, but that just goes to show you how fast you know, these leader bikes can be. And right here again, you see me like getting off the handlebars, shaking out my wrists a little bit, because if you haven't ridden a sport bike, pretty much a lot of your weight is forward on your wrists, so that definitely does get annoying over time. Your lower back kind of hurts, and growing up I was a hockey goalie, so my hips are kind of bad, so my hips started to feel it after a while. But I was riding this thing for almost 2.5 hours this day, and then doing the little twisties again and starting to get into it. It was just a blast to drive. This bike honestly was probably the most fun on like these highways, and unfortunately the highway that I'm on right now is just like a 2-lane highway, and it's pretty tight. And if you're from New Jersey, you might recognize it. It's Route 22, and it's notoriously like one of the worst highways for accidents. So being a beginner rider on a leader bike on one of the most dangerous highways on the, you know, East Coast, I definitely was not trying to ride around like an idiot. But here's me actually getting off and starting to get into the reservation where I filmed it, and I kind of get on it a little bit here, but unfortunately there is someone in front of me, so I have to slow right back down. And you can see me again wiggling out my wrist. And then once I get into the more wooded area of the reservation, I really like this clip right here. You can see me like leaning into it, and there's honestly no better feeling than when you're on these sport bikes and you lean into a curve and you judge it perfectly, and you don't have to like compensate or like adjust yourself through the curve. And listening to that M4 exhaust on this ZX-10R is honestly just music to my ears. I think the thing redlines at like 15,000 or 14,000 RPMs. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments below, but I wasn't even revving it up that high, and it still just sounds amazing. And also, when comparing this leader bike to the Subaru DRZ that I did a review on back in this past winter, if you haven't seen that, I'll link that on top of the video right now. But the DRZ was honestly a lot more nimble than the sport bike, but obviously the sport bike was just so much quicker. I start to get into some straights, I think about right here or a little bit past here, and I can really lay onto it. Actually, this is me coming to a roundabout, so I lean really deep into the roundabout, and then right after I take my turn, I just really kind of kick it in the ass a little bit in second gear. Again, I don't really rev it up too high, but you know, I do like this straightaway was pretty nice. And right there, I was probably going around high 60s, maybe breaking 70, but honestly, I doubt it. I think I was just in the 60s going around, because a lot of those corners were somewhat tight, but I had a little straightaway right there, and to be honest with you, that was probably my favorite footage that I got from this whole ride. Unfortunately, I just gotta experiment a little bit more. I don't have my own bike. Occasionally, I'll steal my dad's, you know, Suzuki C90. But I definitely have to experiment more with some better filming setups for you guys. I do apologize for the bad setup of this video, but to be honest, that's pretty much just gonna be it for today's video. This is me just pulling up to where I did the walk around, and let me know what you guys think of this Kawasaki ZX-10R down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear you guys' opinions, and like always, thank you guys so much for all the support. Definitely be sure to, you know, leave likes, comments, subscribe, all that stuff. It helps me out a lot in the algorithm. But again, thank you guys so much, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.